Good morning, everybody. It's your bud D Mac. So let's talk. All right. So you see the topic. Let's go ahead and dive into this a little bit because I often have many conversations with people, and one of the main things that they ask for is validation of my points. And so I have to make sure that I have the sources available to refer them to so that they can see where I got my information from and what I built my idea on, and then that'll satisfy most people. But then some people will still deny that based on what they want to believe, and that's okay, that's cool. But they can't say that I didn't give them credible sources of or resources to show them where I got this information and where I built this idea from. And I think of it like this, man. um if I sit here and say something based off of something I read and I can't say it verbatim and I'm just paraphrasing, I'm not doing anybody any justice just by doing that. Um, I'm going to make sure that I can direct you to where I got this information from. I learned this in journalism class. I took journalism for a semester. I'll say that. But one of the things that I learned in that intro to journalism class was your sources are the most important thing to you as a journalist, because people are going to question you all the time, especially when you're putting out stories that they may not like. And so they're going to come at you, and they're going to come hard, and they're going to ask you where you got this information from and who told you this and who told you that. Well, hey, I got it from right here. You can go look for yourself. I mean, because I don't want you to look at me as the source. If you look at me as the source, then that means your problem is going to be with me. And now I have to sit here and try to explain something that another source took the time and research and all of that to come up with that hypothesis or theory in the first place. So I'm not going to make myself the source. I'm going to direct you to the source so that your problem can then be with them. And there's a lot of books, there's a lot of literature out here that we often quote and we often use to back up our points, but we will argue it as though we're the one who came up with that information. And then so when people come at us and challenge us, we feel like our back is against the wall or we're being attacked, and then it turns into a whole situation. But the way that I kill that whole thing right there is I direct them to the source. I say, this is the source. This is where this came from. I've repeated what I saw because it made sense to me, and I believe that. So if you have a problem, your problem is with the source. Now you go question the source who took the time to do all of this research and took the time to probably even experiment and find out and experience it themselves so that they can really give a true testimony about this subject. But people aren't going to want to do that. They'll just leave it alone, or they'll just end the conversation, or whatever the case may be. But man, I'm the type of person that, you know, my validation comes from a higher power. So, my validation, the literature for that is the Bible, as well as other spiritual writings that plays a big part into my fundamental belief system. And so whenever I'm speaking to people, yeah, my reference is going to be the Bible over all other sources, but that's not my only source. But I have make sure that anything that I'm talking about, I'm going to have a reference point for you. So when I'm speaking and I disagree with something based on my fundamental belief that comes from my instruction book called the Bible, then your problem is not with me. Your problem is with God. You take that up with him. All right? Because that's his book. That's his source of knowledge and instruction that he gave us in order for us to walk out this life. So if you have a problem with any of my views and anything like that, I'm always going to be looking at things from a much higher perspective than just the worldly perspective. Now, that's not to say that I'm going to just not consider the worldly perspective, because that would be a foolish thing to do, because we live in this world and we have to exist peacefully amongst the people in this world, but we don't have to be of this world, which means that we don't have to participate and indulge in those things that are not conducive to us living a good quality life. So, I'm going to give you my references, and I'm going to speak intelligently, and what you take it for what it is or you don't. And it's just as simple as that. But they always say, don't shoot the messenger. I guess that was a thing at some point that they had to come up with that statement. So whenever two armies are opposed to each other and they want to communicate with the other army and they send a messenger, if you kill the messenger, then that means you are not a person of honor. That means that you are a person that is led by emotion, and that means that you do not want to seek solution in this. You only want destruction and to conquer. And so they had to come up with that. Hey, don't kill the messenger. I'm just bringing you the message from the original source. So don't take your frustrations out on me. And this is still a commonplace thing, because anybody who brings forth a message are putting themselves in a position to be attacked. And so you have to be prepared for that. And you have to be able to defend yourself when you are attacked in this way. And so, this is something that's shaping up to be a part of my life, and a part of my understanding is being able to know how to refer people to the source instead of sitting there fighting on the source's behalf. Because really and truly, God can fight his own battles. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a mouthpiece who's willing to be a vessel so he can speak through when need be. But by far, he don't need me at all to do what he needs to do or to carry out his word. His word created everything. His word spoke everything into existence. So I highly doubt that he needs me, but he sees pleasure in his creation, speaking forth his word and representing the ideas that he's put across to the world. And so I just go by that. And people have to have that understanding. And if you have that understanding about me as well as others, then you will really come with a different attitude when speaking with us. I just did a show yesterday about what's her name, Carolyn Bryant Dunham. That's the lady who was the reason why Emmett Till was murdered. And I also brought up Miss Sarah Page, who was the reason that Black Wall Street was burned down. I do not know the name of the lady who started who caused the destruction in Rosewood, but I was saying all of these things and all of my points based on not only a worldly view, but a spiritual view. And because those are the two considerations that I do for all things, all subject matters. I look at the worldly perspective and the world's idea of wisdom, and then I look at God's wisdom, because the wisdom of the world is foolishness to God. He said that our righteousness is as a filthy rag to him. And so when I look at things in the world, I have to see how the world is going to think about it, because we're living in this world, and the people that run this world are worldly people. And so we have to see what the majority of the people are going to see whenever they see this topic. But then you have to be like, now, okay, so I see what the world is saying. I see why they come from this view, because the world promotes vengeance. The world promotes eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. The world promotes standing up and get back and no forgiveness. The world promotes all of these things heavily. So these are the things that I would expect the world to say. And they don't offend me because I understand that these are the people of the world. And I know how to keep the people of the world separated from the spiritual things. And so once I gain that understanding and I look at what God says, 10 times out of 10, it opposes what the world says. And so I have my conversations in the frame of I understand why you think the way you think and feel the way you feel, but just because you feel strongly about it and you are so determined does not shake my foundation, and it's not going to change the fact that this is not right. So I will never agree with it. I don't care how strongly you feel about something, because I understand that the worldly view and the spiritual view are always going to oppose each other. The spirit is always going to war against the flesh, and the flesh will always war against the spirit. I understand that, and I rightly divide that understanding whenever I'm talking to people, because I don't know what most people's background are when I'm on here talking to them. I don't know what their background is that causes them to come on and to oppose what I say or even attack what I say. So I have to be diplomatic in a way so that I can get to the core of their issue. And 9 times out of 10, the core of their issue always come down to a difference in fundamental beliefs. And so once I understand that we have a difference in beliefs at our core, then now I understand, okay, well, we're never going to agree on this. So there's no sense in sitting here continuing to beat this dead horse. So we'll just agree to disagree and we'll move on with our life. You know, that's fine for some people. Some people are content with that. Other people are not. I also did a clip on TikTok. Usually whenever I do a issue that I think is an important issue, I'll make sure that I convey that message across all of the platforms that I have available to me. And so I did a TikTok video about the whole Carolyn Bryant Dunham thing. And I began to receive messages like, shut up, shut your A up. Really? Why should I shut up? That's my first question. Why should I shut up? What justification do you have for me to not speak my view and my piece and my mind on this topic? I mean, this was put out through social media. This is how we found out that this whole thing is taking place. So why should I shut up because you don't like what I'm saying? That is not a way to handle a situation. If you don't like what I'm saying, then you don't have to listen. Tune out. It's very simple. But for you to come on and think that telling me to shut up is going to discourage me from my message, you think telling me to shut your A up is going to make me stop talking about it? No, it's not, man. It's not. Because in the scope of all things, you really don't matter in my life. Your view really doesn't matter in my life. It's not going to affect my life no one way or the other. I just understand that you are an ignorant person and you don't understand the liberty of being able to explore ideas and being able to think through things and work things out. You don't understand cognitive reasoning, none of these things like this. And so that's why I don't get offended by people like that as easily. I used to. I ain't even gonna front because I didn't have that understanding yet. But the more I do this YouTube stuff and the TikTok stuff and engage with people, I'm beginning to understand people more and why they do the things they do and why they avoid the things they avoid. And so now that's giving me peace. You know, knowledge, understanding, information, all of these things give you peace. They give you peace of mind. because you have a clear view of what is taking place. And most of our fear comes from the unknown. So I make it a fact to try to gain as much knowledge as I can. And I know that when you say you don't know anything, that's a total oxymoron to knowledge, because that means the obtaining of information. And so even in the obtaining of information, even in gaining knowledge, like I said before, if it's not a first-hand account where you witnessed it yourself, the knowledge gained is still subject to question, and it's subject to having its validity checked. So, you just have to rightly divide words and know what they properly mean. I hear a lot of people who say things and they don't know the definition of the word that they're using, and so it throws off the whole entire conversation just because misrepresentation of a word, and it changed the whole narrative. So that's another thing, is understanding what word you're using and using it within its proper context so that it makes sense to the topic that's being discussed. These are all the things that we should look at, man, as we engage with these people, because we're not always going to have great panels that everybody is in harmony and everybody's in agreement. And that's not going to get anything done anyway if everybody just agree with everything. We need opposing points in order to give us a different perspective to look at, so that we don't become one-dimensional, or we don't begin to have tunnel vision blocking out everything else that could help as well. So these are the things that I'm learning to do. These are the things that I'm accepting in my life about people. And I'm just spreading this to others because it may just help somebody else who's dealing with this same issue. And that's really the only reason that I'm on here, is to relate to those who are dealing with some issues that I'm dealing with. Like I said, I'm the first partaker in everything that I put on here, especially if it's pertaining to me. And so, yeah, that's it, man. I'm about to get out of here. This is your boy D-Mac, man. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.